Hi everybody, my name is Kath, and today I'm going to talk to you about writing letters, specifically friendly letters. Before we had phones where we could text each other, and before we had computers where people would often email each other, letters were a way that people communicated. And I started to think, there are some people now that are being asked to stay away, or we're being asked to stay away from them to keep them safe and to keep them healthy. In my family, we have some people who are elderly, they're in their 80s, and they're not allowed to have visitors anymore. So we're trying to make it a point to give them a phone call every couple of days and even write them letters so that they can get mail from the mailman. So I wanted to talk to you about ways that you could do that, maybe who you might think about writing a letter to. It could be a letter, or it could even be a picture that you send them with just a little note. Sometimes that's a way that helps people connect and say, I'm not so alone right now, even though nobody's around me. People out there are thinking of me, and they have things that they want to tell me, and they remember me. So I'm going to talk to you about a way that you can organize a letter that tells you a little bit about yourself, and asks a little bit about the other person, and then invites kind of a way to respond. So it could be like a back and forth. Okay? So first, thinking about who you might write to. It could be anybody. It could be a friend in your class that you haven't seen in a while. It could be a cousin. It could be someone who lives just like downstairs in your apartment building, and you write them a letter and then you just drop it off, tape it to their door. It doesn't have to be put in the mail. So in my family, we have, like I said, we have some people who are in their 80s. So one of them lives in Indiana, and he lives in an old folks' home. This is my uncle, Uncle Larry. So I think I'm going to write to Uncle Larry because he is not supposed to go out and go to the store, and he lives by himself. And so I thought it would be nice for him to hear about how it's going with my family. So I think I'm going to write to Uncle Larry. Think for a second about, if you were going to write a letter right now, who might you write to? Is it someone in your family? Is it a friend, maybe? Maybe a neighbor? Somebody that you sometimes used to see, but maybe you're not seeing them very much now? Okay. So when we write our letter, what I usually like to do is I usually like to think about the beginning part of the letter as a way to follow up. Like think about, when's the last time we talked? And kind of remind them a little bit about something. Maybe something that we talked about, or maybe the last time I saw them. Maybe I'd ask them a question about something that I remember about them. So basically a way to be like, hey, yeah, I know you. And then I might share like a whole little story, like a little, almost like we're writing like a small moment. Or I just tell an idea, like something that I've been thinking about lately, like maybe something in the news or a book I've been reading. Then the last thing I usually do is I invite response. I try to engage with them, try to connect with them. And oftentimes that's a question like, hope to see you soon, or what are you reading? Something where I can, like, they're going to want to write back to me, right? So it's kind of like an exchange. We're going back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so listen to how I think through my letter to Uncle Larry. So first, a follow-up. So I haven't seen Uncle Larry in like 2 years, but we have spoken on the phone, and we do write letters now and again. And so one of the things I know about Uncle Larry is that he loves sports. So he's always asking how the kids in my family, how their sports teams are doing. So I think I might start with that. So I might say like, Dear Uncle Larry. And then I might say, as you know, it's basketball season. The kids were so excited about their new teams. And I'll probably say Willie and Charlotte. Willie and Charlotte. And then I'm going to ask him a question and say, now that there's no sports on TV, it's pretty hard to be entertained. What are you finding yourself watching? Or what are you reading these days? Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Okay, then I'm going to share a story with him. I think I'm going to share a story not about sports. I think I'm going to tell him we have a new dog. I think I'm going to tell him a funny story. So I'm going to tell him, so we have a new dog named Buddy. And then I'm going to say, this weekend, and I'm going to tell him this story. I'm not going to write it in front of you. So this weekend, Dan, my husband, was cooking bacon on the stove, and he had it on a pan, and he'd just taken it out of the refrigerator, so it wasn't cooked, it was raw. Put the bacon on the stove, the whole pound of it, and then he walked away for a minute, less than a minute, and the dog, he said, I heard this noise, and I turned around, and the bacon was in the dog's mouth. The whole pound of bacon was in the dog's mouth. And what Dan was really worried about was that the dog burned himself from the pan. But he said, I looked at the dog and I was like, are you okay? Are you okay? And he said he had a whole face of bacon grease all over him. Oh, so gross. So anyway, he threw it away. So I think I'm going to tell that little story to Uncle Larry. Dan was cooking bacon. He turned around in less than a minute. The dog had jumped up onto the stove and eaten the entire pound of bacon. We had to have something else for breakfast. You see how I just told him a little story? Because I'm trying to, make him feel like he's here with us. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to invite Uncle Larry to kind of like talk to me almost. So Uncle Larry loves movies. So I think I'm going to say to him, we have been looking for a great family movie. We've already watched the Harry Potter movies. Do you have anything you could recommend? We'd love to hear from you. Take care. Love, Kath. He calls me Kath. So did you see how when I was writing my letter, first I kind of followed up and I talked about something that I know that he knows. Like, oh yeah, remember we're playing basketball. Well, the kids can't be on the teams right now. And then I shared a story with him. I just told him a little something about that was happening with me. And then I said at the end kind of like a little question or a little something that hopefully he'll write back to me. So when you're writing your family letter, this might help you kind of think of what you could write about. You can always write about whatever you want. This is just one way you could structure a letter. It doesn't have to be this way. And then just as a quick reminder, I always put the date on my letter because I like the person to know when I was thinking about them. So you could write a short date. You could write it out long if you want. And then you don't have to write dear. You could write hi, hey, how you doing? Whatever you want to say. And then the letter goes here, all the words of your letter. And then at the end, I usually write love if it's somebody in my family. You could write your friend. You could do any way you want to kind of close it their name, right? So that's the sort of the structure of a letter. Same goes in email. If you're typing it, you do it the same way. Dear, put the date, and at the end you sign it. Now, if you're going to mail it, you want to address it. So I have a friend named Peggy, and I'm going to send her a birthday card. So I have it right here, and I already addressed it. So I put Peggy's address here. That's who it's going to. I put my address up here in the corner so that if the post office knows where it's coming from if there was a mistake. And then right here in the corner, I put a stamp. Now, if you don't have stamps, you could always, like I said, you could hand deliver. You're not supposed to go to people's houses, but you could go like maybe tape it to somebody's door. You're not supposed to go into somebody's house. So here we go. Your address, your name, the person who you're mailing it to's name, and then the stamp goes right there. Okay? Kind of fun. So hopefully you'll think of somebody that you might want to write a letter to, and they maybe will write you back. It's so fun to get mail. Here's some mail I got the other day. I got a card, and I got another card from my friend. They were sending me a card, and it's so fun to get mail. Okay, take care.